I'm very happy to present Arthur Vuagniaux, and he's from Swiss Post Cybersecurity, and he's a very specialist in cloud detection systems and building resilience in the cloud, a very hot topic for all of us. Please sit down, we have enough time. Everyone, I think time's about to start. So thank you very much, Arthur. Looking forward to your talk.
Thanks. Let's go then. Well, hello, my name is Arthur Vuagniaux. I'm a security engineer detection team leader at Swiss Post Cybersecurity. For those who don't really know the company, we are a company created from the fusion between Interactive and Acknowledge. We do have a stand for this event, so please feel free to come back and ask more questions after this presentation. For the same company, I was indeed a cloud team leader, so that's why the presentation will talk mostly about cloud, but also a bit about detection. I'm a multi-certified engineer, mostly on Azure, and a bit in Splunk and AWS. And as you can see, even if the picture is great, I'm not really a sales guy. I'm more of a technical guy, even if the presentation will talk a lot about some cloud-specific product from a specific cloud provider. But not really the idea of today's talk. The idea is to talk about resilience and to answer to the following question: how can we build a cyber resilience solution through cloud detection and product? To do so, we will follow the following agenda with some short reminder about what is resilience and what is the current context of cloud in Switzerland. Then we will go deeper into the main part of the presentation, which is to try, or at least to create a solution with some specific scope, some specific architecture, and of course, a specific cost that goes with it. Then I will end the presentation with a short conclusion. So, concerning the short reminders, you may know that there are many definitions for resilience in cyber. For example, from this point of view, it is the ability to anticipate, withstand, recover from, and adapt to adverse conditions, stresses, attack, etc., etc. While from, for example, IBM point of view, it is more like a concept that bring business continuity, information system security, and organizational resilience together. So if we want to have our own definition for this presentation, we could say that cyber resilience may refer to an organization's ability to anticipate, withstand, recover from, and adapt to adverse cyber threats and events such as attack, breaches, and system failures. I see that there is some people that are taking photos, but the main key point to retain are the following one. The first one is, of course, anticipation, so understanding potential threat and preparing for them. Then you have withstanding, so mainly maintaining cooperation during an attack. Then you have recovery, which is restoring system and data quickly and efficiently. And finally, adaptation, in order to learn from your previous incidents, in order to improve your future defenses. Now, with the current context in Switzerland, so there are part for incident and part for the cloud. We see, of course, that there is more and more cybersecurity incidents that are coming into Switzerland. So those are cipher from 2023 up to 2024. We see an increase of cyber incidents, but we also see that more and more companies in Switzerland are increasing their cybersecurity budget. So that's for a security point of view, but now for a cloud point of view, we also see that in the world, there are more and more money that are spent into cloud services, following some last report from Gartner, for example. And we also see that companies such as Microsoft are investing more and more into the cloud in Switzerland. So now that we do have a context and we do have a definition, let's try to build our own solution. To do that, the first thing to do is to have a scope, at least. And of course, since we are talking about cloud, we need to check and to find what is the perfect cloud provider for this exercise. So I decided to take at least 4 cloud provider in ID to see which one is the best for our exercise. So of course there is Amazon with AWS, since globally it is the main one all over the world. In our context in Switzerland, we have Microsoft with Azure and Defender, and also Microsoft 365. Then if you are not happy with those two ones, there are still GCP. And finally, because I needed a 4 to end the slide, you can still take Alibaba Cloud, but I don't think there is anyone in this room that will take that. Of course, in our context, and I will explain later with the following slide, I did decide to take Microsoft and Azure/Defender for this exercise. But why? Why Microsoft instead of Amazon? From my point of view, those are really two good cloud providers. I'm not taking GCP since there are too many stuff to do with GCP, but not really this kind of exercise from my own point of view. But why Microsoft and not Amazon? Because really there are more product or related product for this exercise in Azure. I will not spoil the presentation right now, but at least there is one specific tool that does exist on Azure and that doesn't really have an equivalent in AWS. A tool that allows me, for example, to have automatic correlation of my alert across all my components, and also to have a new unified visibility of my logs, of my incident through a centralized portal. But I think for those who know a bit Microsoft, Azure, and Defender, you may know already what tools I'm talking about. Then doing it from Azure and Defender allow me also to have a way of protecting other cloud assets with another specific product from Microsoft. Then finally, since I'm talking to a Switzerland public, it is far more interesting for you to have the point of view from Microsoft other than AWS, since it is more used in Switzerland. And finally, and I think the best argument is because it is my presentation, so I'm doing what I want. No, I'm just kidding, but since I do have more certification on Azure, I know more Azure than AWS, so I have to take it into consideration for the presentation. Now, let's talk a bit about what do we have for the Microsoft Cloud Stack. I did choose to divide it into 3 main families, but you have too many families in the universe of Microsoft. The first family is Azure with Microsoft Sentinel, which is the cloud CM from Microsoft. Microsoft Entra ID, I think everybody knows it in this room. And Microsoft Defender for Cloud, which is the tool that I was talking about in order to protect my other cloud asset, which is funny because it is not part of the Defender suite. It is in Azure, but does have the Defender name, thanks Microsoft for the branding. Then you have the M365 family, so Intunes, which allow me to have endpoint management, and you have M365 with SharePoint, OneDrive, Team, etc., etc. And finally, you have Microsoft Purview in order to do some kind of DLP protection. Then the last family is, of course, the Defender family with a lot of product, but I decided to just took those one for the overview: Defender for Identity, IoT, Cloud Apps, Office 365, and the cherry on top of the cake, which is Defender for Endpoint. Now that we do have a context, that we have a definition, and we have some kind of idea of the scope, let's go a bit more deeper into the product that we might want to use to build a solution. The first one is Microsoft Purview, which is the data loss prevention tool from Microsoft that will allow me to monitor and block some sensitive data. The main feature that you need to keep in mind is the classification and labelization in Microsoft Purview that allow me to really classify my data and allow me to have the following two features, which are insider risk management. So it will allow me to detect some risky behavior, such as data exfiltration, of misuse of AI tools. And then you have the adaptive protection, which allow me to dynamically restrict access when I have high risky users. For that exercise, then it will allow me to prevent data loss and maintain regulatory compliance. Then we can maybe have an identity management tool with Microsoft Entra ID. And for those who are gamer and will know the metaphor Entra ID protection, which is more like a DLC to Microsoft Entra ID. There are many good features in Microsoft Entra ID, but for this exercise, maybe we want to stick to some of the important ones, such as MFA conditional access policies that will allow me to reduce, for example, unauthorized access risk. Then we have Microsoft Entra ID Privileged Identity Management, so PIM for the short name, which will allow me to at least apply least privilege principle with just-in-time access. Then with Entra ID, I will be able to do some kind of identity protection. It is an identity management tool. And will allow me to detect some risky signing, risky location, etc., etc. Then with that, I will be able to create some kind of resilient architecture and be also able to create some recovery plan. So with Entra ID, I'm able to back up some critical configurations such as airbag and conditional access policies, for example. And finally, you can also use Microsoft Entra ID to potentially try to implement zero trust principle, such as privilege segmentation, for example. And with that, in our exercise, it will allow me to ensure identity security and availability during crises. Then that's good. I have Microsoft Purview, which is part of M365 family. We have Entra ID, which is part of Azure family. Now, let's find some tool from the Defender suite. For this exercise, I did choose only 4 of them, which are Defender for Cloud, Defender for Identity, Defender for Office 365, and Defender for Endpoint. For Defender for Cloud, the idea is that with it, I will be able to improve my cloud security posture and protect my multiple cloud workload, such as S3 buckets for companies that do have also Amazon. It is really important because we do see that there is more and more companies that are going into the cloud, but that are also going into 2 different cloud providers. So that's interesting to have it for this exercise. It is a bit the same kind of idea with a Defender for Identity. For those who don't know, it will allow me to protect both Active Directory, so on-prem Active Directory, and Entra ID, which are in the cloud. So since more and more companies are hybrid architecture with an Active Directory on-premise and with an Entra ID, that's good to use it for this exercise. Then with Defender for Office 365, I want to, for example, protect my user from phishing. So that's the idea. Or maybe if I want to improve my own posture, I want to run myself phishing campaign. So with that, I can do it. And finally, since I do need to have at least some protection on my endpoint, we can use Microsoft Defender for Endpoint in order, for example, to isolate compromised device, to block suspicious interaction, and have also some scanning and therefore having some vulnerability management with Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. With that, then I will be able to detect, contain, and remediate threat quickly for this exercise. Then that's good, but what about my log? So for those who already know Microsoft Sentinel, it is the CM from Microsoft and does have at least 4 main features, which are collect, detection, investigation, and response. For the collection, with some native features such as data connector, it will allow me to fetch log from different providers such as all the other cloud, so AWS, for example, and also some third parties such as all your FortiGates firewall or your Palo Alto component, etc., etc. And once I do have collect my logs, the idea is to do at least some detection on it. So with that, I will be able to create my own analytic rules to do my own detection. Then, hopefully, maybe I will have some incident to investigate. I will be able, with a lot of features such as workbooks and antiquaries, to provide some investigation with Microsoft Sentinel. And finally, if I have potentially a true positive, the idea may be to have some kind of response with automation rules and playbooks. So with Microsoft Sentinel, I will be able to at least build the main component, build the backbone of my solution, and to be able to have some detection and response that could minimize the impact and accelerate the recovery. Then I talk a bit about response, but what do we have really at our disposal between Defender and Azure? So there is 2 kinds of family. You have the automatic playbooks family, which are from Defender, which is also designed into Defender. So it is really a native feature from Defender. It will be triggered automatically depending on investigation and remediation mechanism integrated to Defender. So that's great, but it is really limited to Defender feature and APIs, and it is more like a local automation. Then on the other side of the scope, I have Azure Logic App, which are workflow in Azure that allow me to orchestrate multiple actions, but not only the one native to Azure. The Azure Logic App offers a great flexibility and extensibility to be able to create workflow with different providers. For example, I used it internally at some point for sending me notation for PagerDuty. And what it is interesting also with Azure Logic App is that contrary to automatic playbook, it can be triggered automatically or manually. And really, you can interact with both worlds, and you may see it as a global automation. That's great. Really, the 2 are good in order for me to ensure some cyber resilience and to start working myself on some automate threat containment, etc., etc. If you are not lost yet with all those products, we will thank Microsoft to simplify everything with a brand new product, of course. So it is not really a brand new product. It is a new name for an old product, which was Microsoft 365 Defender, that you must not confuse with Microsoft 365, which is the new name of Office 365. Thanks, Microsoft, for the branding. Once again, it has been released last year, at least under the name Microsoft XDR. And it is the simplification of everything into one console with all the products that I talked about just before. So Defender for Cloud, all the Sentinel alerts, all the Defender product. And really, it will help us to simplify everything into a single console. There are even working, and I think it is already finished, of adding Microsoft Purview into the Microsoft XDR console. So now you can be, or at least you are able to treat Microsoft Purview alerts into XDR. So it gives me some kind of solution that looks like that. Sorry, the schema is a bit old from Microsoft. I did not really talk about Azure backups and all the backup possibility that you could have in Azure. I think if I added that to the presentation, we will be here at least for for new hours, at least just to talk about Azure backups. But the idea is that with XDR, you can have everything into a single console and all the products that I talk about. That's great, but now we do see that there is some kind of trend in the cybersecurity world. So I guess there is one missing ingredient to the whole solution, which is AI, of course. So for those who don't know, we have what we call Microsoft Copilot for Security in Azure, which is to not be confused with Copilot for 365 and not be confused with Copilot at all. Thanks, Microsoft, once again. It is a generative AI-powered security solution that does help me to have a standalone experience in order to do mostly for that kind of exercise automation. In our case, it will allow us to help for the triage for the SOC, for example, and to have clear, actionable summary, step-by-step remediation guide, etc., etc. So really, with Microsoft Copilot for Security, I will be able to accelerate human decision-making and automate complex recovery steps during and after incidents. That's great, but if we are taking back now our main 4 points from the definition, let's try to classify each product I talked about in this definition. For anticipation, we will have Defender XDR, Sentinel, Copilot for Security, of course. For the withstanding, we will have Entra ID and all the Entra ID product related, such as PIM, for example. Then for the recovery part, we will have Entra ID, since I talk about the possibility to have recovering plan. You will have Purview and all the backup that you could have in Azure. And finally, concerning the adaptation, you will have Defender, Defender Product, Sentinel, and Copilot for Security. No, that's great, but that's a perfect world if I have really a lot of money. I don't really have a lot of money. So let's see really what is the cost of it in real life. While this solution covers really all critical security pillars, such as anticipation, withstanding, recovery, and adaptation, it does represent a premium investment. And one of the main issues that we do have with this kind of solution is that we can have two types of cost. For example, we have a cost linked to licensing with Defender XDR, Entra ID suite, so P1, P2 for those who know the licensing in Microsoft, standalone licenses for Microsoft Purview. And we have variable costs, such as gigabyte for ingested data in Sentinel, such as SKU for Microsoft Copilot for Security. So that can be nightmarish, and the licenses base, or at least to try to understand the licenses in Microsoft, can be hard and tough too. So it is a bit complicated. But if we are taking an example with the perfect solution for a month and for 100 users, it will at least cost, in terms of licenses, around 3,500 francs by month. So it is at a minimum cost for the perfect solution. So yeah, unfortunately, the solution might be great, but is costful. What is the conclusion that we can draw from that? I think you already understand that there is no right solution, of course, but do not see it, or do not see resilience, etc., as a glass half full, half empty. There are multiple solutions, but I think one should be to start asking yourself some specific question, such as, of course, do I really need that product? I do see more and more companies that are getting that Defender, that one, but are not at least using it for sure. And do they really need it? For example, let's take Microsoft Defender for Identity. That's a great tool, but if you don't have any on-premise asset, that doesn't really matter to have it really. You can do and have protection with other Defender tools. Then you can also ask yourself, would it cost me less to take some global specific licenses? Sometimes I see customers that have E3, but have a lot of standalone licenses aside from it, and maybe there is an interest to just take E5 in order to have less cost and more feature. That can be a point to take. And of course, do I need really everything to make it work for me? From that, you will be able to at least start to work on scoping yourself on what you want to cover and what are your needs. And finally, start little, of course. It is a marathon, so build brick by bricks your own solution. There is no perfect solution. There are multiple solutions, but you need to find what is the perfect one for you. Then, just to finish and add some specific conclusion, I do see resilience as an Ouroboros, so that's great. We have a presentation at one time, but resilience is not really a one-time fix. It is a loop of detection, response, recovery, and improvement. So please take it into consideration when you will work on that. And don't forget to build your own resilience. I have shown you how to build it with some solution from some specific cloud provider. Hopefully, I hope that you will be able to build your own resilience with cloud, but remember to adapt it every day to your needs. Thanks for having me. Do you have any question? So maybe not.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
I have so many, I don't know.
Yes. I mean, the presentation is too short to cover everything, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's immense. Yeah, thanks for the presentation. The question is rather practical. Are you or perhaps anyone in this hall actually using at least half of these products?
So I will try to not talk about a lot, but we do have internally.
With efficiency is also important remark.
We do have, for example, Sentinel, since I did a lot of work on Sentinel. We have internally endpoint, so at least Defender for endpoint for all of our assets, some other licenses and different products. But yeah, that's there is too many products, and you need to choose what is the best for you. So.
Yeah, I understand that it's a broader discussion because we also have at least some parts of Microsoft Cloud, but in the end, for example, we use a mix of open source and partially only Microsoft Cloud, and even their marketing promises a lot, but in practice, sometimes I discover that it's not working very well or not as they advertise it to be. So you're free to exchange I would be happy to hear anyone's experience with actual.
I do understand the point of view.
The practical architecture that you have set up.
Because the informality with the presentation, it seems like you need to have everything to make it work. But you do have some products, such as, for example, Sentinel or Defender for Endpoint, that are great to use as a standalone and a mixed with what you have internally on your side.
An excellent question. I really hope you can take on the discussion.
Yeah.
Because we are already at the end of our time.
No, don't worry.
I'm so sorry. It was a very good talk. Thank you very much, Arthur.